Welcome to the 3Haunted podcast, where we bring you all things horror, supernatural, folklore, mythology, and all things that go bump in the night.
What's up, everybody? This is your co-host, Ashley Lunar Goddess, Gorilla Girl filmmaker and horror-loving cinephile. I'm just your average podcast-producing badass.
I'm John Thomas. Some would say that I go a little too far with my love of all things horror, paranormal, and meta, but I say, talk nerdy to me, and I'm all yours.
What's up, ghouls, gals, and all of our paranormal lovers out there? In today's episode, we'll be returning to the world of the paranormal and supernatural, but this time in book form. Join us as we welcome author Jacqueline Smith to the show. Welcome, Jackie.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to be here.
I'm very excited to have you on. Now, the first question John always asks is, how do you know each other? So,
Yes, but you answered that already. But go ahead, for everybody listening.
yeah, I answered it prior to. So, those listeners that know kind of what I do outside of the podcast world, I do a lot of convention appearances. And I happened to be at a show in Texas, and I was strolling along, and I paused, and I walked back because I saw a table that had all sorts of ghostly looking books on it. And that is the quickest way to get my attention in a convention when I'm on a mission, is horror or spooky. And so I'm walking by, and it's like, there's Pokemon and there's anime. And then I'm like, skirt, there's cemeteries. And of course, it was a booth for an amazing author by the name of Jacqueline Smith.
Oh, thank you so much.
And what's funny is actually I found out that one of our clients is actually friends with Jackie. So it wasn't long before Jackie and I are hugging each other and like, have a good day.
That sounds about right.
A good friend of mine here in Texas is a voice actress. And so I know your client through mutual friends, and they're wonderful, wonderful. And you are wonderful.
Thank you. The thing I loved is because Jackie wasn't at the table at that moment. You had someone there helping you. And she was amazing. That woman knows all of the books in and out. She's like, we have this, this, that. And if you like this, we have that. And if you buy this, you get a bracelet. And I'm like, you had me at bracelet.
That was my mom.
That's your mom? Oh,
that was my mom.
Your mom is amazing.
Thank you. My mom was my booth buddy for that weekend.
That explains why she knows it so well.
Oh, yeah. She has been there literally from the very beginning.
And she's so sweet because I can be still timid about when I would like someone as a guest, inviting them onto the podcast. And so I'm just like, do you think she might be interested in being on a podcast? And she's just like, oh my gosh, yes. Let me text her to come back.
What's funny is I think I was actually talking to Marissa while you were stopping at my booth. And so I ran back.
Marissa's like, where's my rep? I'm at her booth.
Yeah. Comic-Con can be a small world, but I love it. I love it. Everyone there is so cool.
Yeah, it was awesome. And you've got different books for different flavors, I want to say. But, right, you've got like the romance, or what do you call it? Oh, I forget what you called it.
I have young adult, I have romantic comedies, I have romantic suspense, and I have the ghost stories.
Because the romantic book, you wrote that because they told you to, right? Is that?
Oh, yeah. I was told I would never make money unless I wrote a trashy romance novel. And so I wrote a book called Trashy Romance Novel.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
And I'm more excited about the Cemetery Tours series. So I actually have all 4 books that are currently out.
Oh, thank you so much.
And I was very excited because I think your mom thought I was going to buy just one. And I'm like, I'll take them all. And she's like, what? And I was just like, I'll take them all. Like, yes, please. She was very excited.
Oh, yes. My mom is probably my biggest fan. Absolutely. My biggest fan.
Us moms usually are.
I just started reading After Death, so I'm weird though, because like, why would I jump to that one, right? Like, I'm starting.
Well, thank you. I still so appreciate you.
I'm starting to realize as I'm reading, I'm like, oh man, maybe I should have started at the beginning, because I'm starting to get these hints of things that happened in previous books, and I'm like, oh wait, that was probably meant for a surprise or like a reveal or something. I was like, oh man, but still great.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. In the first book, I was convinced for a little while that Gavin might be a ghost. I'm like, I don't know how the ghost has a truck, but I think he might be a ghost. But
that would have been really cool.
Well, I think it was the hinting of him being kind of sickly after her accident and just them not knowing what the cause was. I'm like, oh, is he a ghost? I'm glad he wasn't, though. No. I'm glad he was alive. I liked him. I would have been sad if he were not alive.
Oh yeah. But it seems that everyone's favorite character is already dead. Everyone seems to really love Brink. And so that's what I tell people going in. It's like, well, the good news is I can't kill off your favorite character because he's already dead.
But you could cross him over, and that would be sad.
I could. Ooh. I could. As of right now, I have no plans on because I am way too attached to him.
Now, when did you first decide that you wanted to write a series in the paranormal supernatural world?
Well, I've been interested in the paranormal my entire life. My mom kind of raised my sister and me on all those, most haunted in America shows that would marathon every single Halloween. We were watching like Dracula when we were kids. I don't know why. But then in 2010, and see, I realized I wanted to be a writer, I guess my junior year of college, which was 2009. And so I started initially writing just rom-coms. But then in 2010, I suffered kind of an unexpected loss. And I honestly started writing cemetery tours about a guy who can see and talk to the dead just to make myself feel better. And it went through so many different edits, changes, drafts. I always tell people, oh no, I don't have any. My one draft is the only one that exists. That is not true. I have so many drafts of cemetery tours that my brain just decided to delete because they were not good. But yeah, I basically started writing it to make myself feel better, and then it evolved and became a story that I really, really loved.
I love that as a female writer, you chose to write for predominantly a male protagonist, which is exciting because I don't know how often that's done. Usually you have the female writing for the female. I'm sure it happens, but I do love, especially in a paranormal setting, that we've got a male protagonist, because I feel especially in the paranormal world, we don't get a lot of those, and I'm not sure why.
I'll be honest, I totally based him off of Spencer Reid from Criminal Minds. I was so big into Criminal Minds back in those days. I mean, I still am. I still love the show. But I watched it and I saw Spencer Reid and I thought, oh, he's precious. I love him.
He's precious.
I bet he can see ghosts. And or when I came up with the idea to write basically when I was writing cemetery tours and who would eventually become Michael Sinclair, I was looking for a comfort person, a comfort character. And for some reason, when I saw Matthew Gray Gubler as Spencer Reid, I thought that's like my comfort character. That's the person who I would want comforting me and telling me, don't worry, I can still see your loved ones. They are here with you. And yeah, that's how he became, I guess that's why I chose to write from a male perspective for him. I chose to have him be the protagonist.
Now that you've said that, I'm forever going to see Spencer Reid in my mind.
I actually have a picture. I shared it on my social media just a couple days ago of Matthew Gray Gubler holding a copy of Cemetery Tours.
What?
A friend of mine went to one of his stand-up shows or a show that he did, and she gave him a copy. And so I have a picture of him holding the book.
That's awesome.
And oh my God, I almost fainted when she sent me that.
Level unlocked.
Oh yeah.
That's so great. Now, have you yourself had paranormal experiences?
Oh, absolutely. I grew up in a house. Both my grandparents died in the back room. had multiple cats pass in this household as well. So the house I grew up in is definitely haunted. I had a weird experience in a cemetery, actually. And then just recently, my cat, I know she can see, she can experience, or she can sense kind of the paranormal, but I don't think she's smart enough to realize that that's what she's experiencing. And so usually when I'm up writing, she'll sit next to me on the couch. But this one particular day, she was halfway across the room. And I'm like, Nova, what? Why won't you come and sit next to me? And then just out of nowhere, the fan that was on the table turned on all the way up to the highest setting. Just no explanation. No one touched it. I was alone. It was so cool.
Was that the only time that's happened with that?
That was the only time that that's happened. Yeah, my sister has had a couple other experiences, but for me, that fan turning on by itself, it has not done it since. I tested it. I took it back to my room and I kind of turned it on myself, and the same whoosh that happened that caught my attention initially is what happened. So I was like, I can't replicate this except for turning it on myself.
Oh my gosh. Is that a fan that has like a remote to it, or it's just like press the button?
No remote. Oh. No remote. It's just it's a knob. It's a twisty, like click, click, click. And I heard those click, click, clicks before the zoom.
Oh, so you actually heard that?
I heard it turn on. And see, we have a lot of like drag racers that go up and down our street. And so you, in the middle of the night, you'll just hear the zoom. And honestly, that's what I thought it was. I thought it was a car speeding like toward my house. And it turned out it was just the fan just going from 0 to the highest setting, going zoom. And oh my gosh, I got chills like beyond belief.
The fact that you heard the knob clicking, that would freak me out.
Well, and I didn't register it at first because I heard the knobs and I didn't think anything of it because I was writing at the time. So, and I think I was probably working on a paranormal story. And then, but it was the zoom that really, I looked up and it was just on full blast. And even if we'd had it on during the day, it hadn't been turned up to full blast.
So what did you do? Did you say anything, or did you like?
I turned it off, but then, well, okay, this is so anticlimactic, but then Nova, my cat, found a cricket and she started playing with it. And so I don't like crickets. I usually wait for my sister to take them out the next day. So I put like a cup over it, and I kind of had a talk with the ghost. I was like, okay, you can mess with the fan all you want, but please do not release this cricket while I'm asleep.
That is the best response to a ghost I've ever heard.
I found out very early on that I was more afraid of bugs than I am of ghosts.
Oh man!
Because the hall that the house that I grew up in, the hall is like very creepy to me. It always has been. And once I was gonna be sleeping out in the living room because one of my cats was older and she was kind of a little sick, and I was like, oh, I don't want to sleep in here. But then the room I was going to sleep in, there was like a roach that crawled out. It was kind of flying around, and so I was like, oh, forget that, I'll sleep in the haunted room. So
I'll take the haunted room.
I learned at a very early age I was way more afraid of bugs than ghosts.
I could see that, because if someone told me, do you want to be in a room of spiders or a room of ghosts, I'll take the ghosts all day, any day. Like, let's do the ghosts.
Oh yeah. And like, as far as the energy goes, like, once again, the house, my childhood home, there was this figure that my dad and my sister both saw, and I didn't believe them. But then one day I saw it. And the thing is, none of these energies have ever been like malicious or scary to me. As soon as I saw this, I got I saw it saw me, it jumped back, I jumped back, and then it disappeared. And I got the impression that it was really trying not to disturb me. And that was the same with like the fan, whoever turned the fan on. And full disclosure, that day we had actually just set up a trail camera in the backyard because we had a family of baby bunnies living out there. Oh. And after my sister had gone inside, I kind of stood outside and said, okay, if there are any ghosts who want their picture taken, here's your chance. And that night is when the fan turned on. And so my sister, she kind of yelled at me. She kind of yelled at me the next day. She goes, "You asked for that." And I said, "No, I told them if they wanted to get their picture taken. I did not say come in and mess with the fans."
But you did invite them to make their presence known.
I did. I will admit that. And they did.
They're like, "Oh, you want me to show myself? Here we go."
Yeah. Well, maybe I wasn't paying enough attention, so they had to turn on the fan at full blast.
Nova's looking at you like, "Do you not see that right there?" Like,
yeah,
Mom, it's right there. And then the ghost is like, "Bloop, fan on."
And I have a friend, one of my best friends, he's a huge skeptic. So I told him this story and I said, "Okay, explain." And he goes, "It was Nova." And I was like, "It was not Nova."
Nova turned the dial.
And then he goes, "It was the cricket." And I was like, "It was not the cricket."
You try to, you can't explain stuff like that away. Like, especially if it's multiple clicks, like maybe one click or one button that you press down. Sure. But if it's a dial that you're twisting.
Yeah. And it was like one, click, click, click. So it clearly wasn't like click, click, click. It was clearly something using all of its energy at once to go click, click, click.
Yeah, because the skeptic in me would go to, okay, did we have an energy surge or electrical surge? But no, because that wouldn't click, click, click and turn the dial. And remote, the same with the remote, because like in my house, all of the lights and fans at my house where I live now, they also have like corresponding remotes, but they can work on any room. So I could see like that. But for you heard the physical dial. That's like hearing a light switch flipped. Like that's not, that's harder to explain. And crickets can't do that.
And we're definitely not fancy enough to have anything with a remote except for a TV. Like our fans, we got like at the dollar store.
So these things that have happened to you, obviously, are they influencing your writing? And do you use some of those stories in your writing?
I've used actually dreams that I've had in my writing. They were just creepy dreams. They didn't mean anything at all. I don't think they were any sort of communication whatsoever. I'm trying to think. I've used instances from my own life in like my rom-coms, but not... I don't think I've put any of my experiences with ghosts. See, my other experience was at a cemetery, and I was just taking a tour, and there was like a tree kind of at the edge of the yard that kept calling me back or calling me over. And so finally I went over and looked at it. There was a broken tombstone beneath this tree, and carved into the tombstone were my initials, which was the creepiest feeling. That was creepier to me than the fan. But those are really my two big ones. No, I don't think I've used any of my paranormal experiences in my writing. I think I have based certain places in my writing off of real places, like in After Death, the book that you're reading. There is a circus cemetery. It's called Showman's Rest. It's a real place. I went to visit it. It's very cool.
That's awesome. I actually I did a tour. There's a tour here where I live. It was at a cemetery, and there was a fire, and it was in one of the carts. Unfortunately, there was like 12, I think it was 11 or 12 people that died in it, but they were on the train, and I think they were with the Barnum and Bailey. So they were with the circus back in the day. And so they died. And so they're there, and they say that they come out and go through the city and stuff too. So that's that kind of stuff super interesting to me, just because it's a different kind of lifestyle, right? And it's just got a whole different vibe that's just very, very unique.
Now, the fourth book, which is Lost Souls, which is set in Scotland, I did visit there. I visited many of the places that I mentioned in the book. I didn't get to go to the Edinburgh vaults, which, oh my God, I want to go back to Scotland just so I can explore the vaults and just so I could spend some more time in Greyfriars Kirkyard. That place has an amazing, terrifying, and very sad and spooky history. And I only got to spend about 5 minutes there the last time I went, because I was on with a group from church, actually. But Scotland is a beautiful, beautiful haunted place, and I love it.
I definitely want to get out there. Just the landscape, hauntings aside, just the landscape looks absolutely captivating. Like it just seems enchanted. So
It
I
is.
want to go.
It is. Okay, there is a Scotland Comic-Con and there's also a Wales Comic-Con, and I follow them on Instagram. And so I keep telling my friend Cody, the skeptic, I was like, okay, one day when we have enough money, we are going to apply and we're going to go over there just to go to these Comic-Cons, and then we're going to like take 2 weeks and just enjoy.
I know people that will book themselves for those, because usually you get booked for both, and will book themselves for that just to get out there, and then they book extra like a week before, week after, just to like enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's what I would do. I mean, Scotland is it's so beautiful. I love it, but it's such a small country. I mean, I live in Texas. We're huge.
Texas is a country.
Yeah, basically. So just being in this, place where you can go anywhere in like 2 hours, I'm like, what? This is fantastic. So, I mean, we were able to see just in a week, we were able to see a lot of Scotland just because it was so easy to get around.
Yeah, Scotland, what is the size? Is it kind of like maybe the size of Colorado, maybe? Like it's not big.
It's smaller than Arizona, I know.
Oh, okay. No, that would be really fun. I mean, there's so much history, right? Like the United States obviously is not that old, but you go over there and you just, you trip over ghosts. Like it's just.
But define old, because we hear that a lot. Like the U.S. is new, and yes, people haven't been building up, buildings and stuff as long as overseas, but people have been here quite a while too, like natives. And I don't know, like
maybe the density is what I mean, like
population density.
Maybe, right? Like more people died there than here, like just because we're so spread out. Like I don't know, maybe that was a stretch to say that, but I don't know.
Or like the structures and the buildings that still exist over there. Like at least in Texas, you're barely going to find any buildings that date back to like the 1300s.
The buildings are definitely older over there. But, you hear about, at least in the United States, a lot of the hauntings are less related so much to the buildings, is like you always hear, no matter where you go, like Savannah, Georgia, well, this was all a mass Indian burial ground or a mass Native American. Like you always hear that. And so it's just like, well, we got a different kind of haunting. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, I've always heard that Galveston, from the storm of 1900, there is not a spot on the island where you can step that someone didn't die or was buried. Galveston, Texas is I feel like a very underrated haunted place because it has a lot of that history.
I would say we should do a tour of Texas, but that's going to take like a month.
It'll take forever. Just go to San Antonio is a great haunted spot, Jefferson and Galveston. Those I would say were probably on my top 3 haunted list. For Dallas, we don't really have anything. Apparently we have a haunted spaghetti warehouse, but that's not cool.
The old spaghetti factory place. That's not really fun. I mean, we have a melting pot that's haunted here.
Really?
Yes. 2 of them, actually.
Oh my gosh.
2 of them, yes.
Ghosts like fondue, apparently.
Yes. Well, to be fair, the first one in, Littleton was a jail. It was a library. It was all kinds of things before the restaurant. So, yeah, it had all kinds of messed up stuff happening. There was a flood and it killed a bunch of people. And, yeah, so...
There's a Holiday Inn in San Antonio, and the first time my sister and I stayed there, we pulled in, and there was a ghost tour right across the street. And we were going, where are we? So we walked in, and we asked the lady at the front desk, we said, is that a ghost tour? Are they talking about this place? And she goes, oh yeah, this used to be a prison. And they still have some of like the bars on the window.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and so we were both like, ooh, are we going to see a ghost? And we've stayed there twice now, and it hasn't happened yet. We were bummed.
Darn.
We went to this place in California in Jackson where there was like a haunted Airbnb. And I'm like, if this gets too crazy, I'm going to go to the hotel up the street. And she's like, that's even more haunted. I'm like, what? She's like, this whole place is haunted. Didn't you know that? And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. She's like, fine, I'll sleep in the car.
I told her, what's the radius? Like, where, at what point is it no longer haunted? I will drive out on that end.
See, and I'm all for it. I haven't, knock on wood, experienced too much paranormal stuff, and I would like to see more. So that's part of why this is so exciting of a conversation, because I want to hear about these places. I want to, because it sounds like you're just all about it, right? Like this is, I mean, obviously you have your writing, but I feel like this is something that you are pretty passionate about, right? You and your sister.
Oh, I have. We are okay. Here's an example. We're planning a trip out to California next year because there are a couple elephants that used to live at the Dallas Zoo that are pregnant, and so we're going to go out and see their babies. However, during that trip, we are making a point to go see the Winchester Mystery House. So yes, if there is a way to incorporate anything spooky or anything haunted or anything historic, we will try to take it. Like, we went to Boston a few years ago because she is a singer, and she had a voice lesson at the Boston Conservatory, I think. And but while we were out there, we went to Salem and we did the history walk. We did we visited all the graveyards. We learned all about the witch trials. It was amazing.
That is on my bucket list. I want to go to Salem
so cool.
So badly. Yes. So badly.
The witch house is very spooky and very cool. You learn a lot about, the very sad history of the witch trials. They're not nearly as spooky as all what is it, the Crucible would have you. I mean, it ended up being more about these women owned land, and the men in the banks wanted that land, and so they were like, oh, they're witches. But it was such a cool experience.
Yeah, nowadays I think that's still, people still try to, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of smudge the name of people in whatever way that they can if they're out to get something. So slander campaigns. So nowadays, if someone's like, she's a witch, I'm like, damn right I am. I mean, I'm not, but might as well give them what they're asking for. It's like, I am and I'll curse you. I can't curse anybody.
I can't either. I can ask my cat. She's like my little witch's familiar. But again, she's not smart enough to know that there are ghosts.
Go curse them, Nova.
Exactly. I do think she is an alien sometimes.
She might be.
Teleports throughout the house. It's weird.
She's like a mini Bigfoot.
Exactly. She might be some kind of cryptid. I don't know. Do y'all believe in cryptids?
Absolutely.
Not all of them. I've been kind of into the pterodactyl stuff recently. That's pretty interesting. Like, there's videos of these, it looks like pterodactyls just kind of flying around, and there's stories of people being taken by these giant pterodactyls. And yeah, so that it's crazy. It's weird. It's just like, really? Like, okay, maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe. I think I believe in some cryptids. Because to me, I think there are things out there that exist that we just haven't cataloged yet or haven't been able to capture, which do we really need to capture? Like, what does that serve? But that's, that aside, I just think there are things out there that we haven't identified that some people maybe have experienced or seen. So it's like, it's a cryptid.
I agree. I love the idea that we haven't discovered everything there is to discover about the world. Or just about the universe in general.
Yeah, and I don't know if, I don't know how much I believe the, inner Earth theory, but there's a whole system of dinosaurs and animals living inside, a center of the Earth thing. I think that's a stretch, but I do think there are a lot of things out there we just can't explain and haven't fully been able to experience yet.
Isn't that like the plot of the third Ice Age movie?
Yeah, probably. It's the plot of a lot of movies.
I actually hadn't heard that theory. I did not know that there might be dinosaurs still. I've heard that some people think that politics are controlled by lizard people that live underground.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
I mean, we have a lot of people that believe that too. The reptilians that live inside of the earth or in caves and tunnel systems, and maybe, I don't know.
I mean, they'd probably do a better job than like most of the politicians that exist right now.
Yeah, they're probably really offended like that politicians get called reptilians. They're like, screw you guys.
Yeah.
That's offensive. We aren't like them at all.
Okay, not to switch to politics. Let's go back to like ghosts.
Yes. So back to, do you guys want to hear a ghost story?
Of course.
Yes.
Okay. So me and my brother, my family, we went to Copper Mountain to do a run. So it was like it's like Warrior Dash. So you have to like do this obstacle course and everything else. And we stayed at this condo, and at the condo, we had like we set up an air mat. My brother set up an air mattress up in one of the rooms, and then when he went in there, on the counter or on the dresser in the room was this little piece of paper, and he goes up to it, and it's his birth announcement. So yeah, it was laid out on the table, on the dresser, just out of nowhere, and he's in his 40s, so it's not and it's a weird thing. How does something like that end up there? And it's messed with him for a long time. Like, he told me this not too long ago. We talked about the podcast and all the different paranormal experiences, and that was a big one. I was like, oh yeah, that's messed up, man. I don't know what to tell you about that. Like, the reason for something like that, I don't know.
I feel like my house is so cluttered at the moment that I wouldn't even notice if a ghost was moving things. It's a problem.
But for it to be his birth announcement, something that you wouldn't just have lying around, right?
Yeah, that's trippy.
And then it would be on the dresser, like of a condo that you're renting, and he was the first person in there. So, yeah, I don't really understand how that happened, but it's trippy, right? It's those kinds of weird things that I think that really are like, I don't know if it's ghost related, but it's weird. It's unexplainable.
It's definitely something spooky, and I would say like intelligent. I know there's a difference between like the intelligent hauntings and the residual hauntings, and that definitely sounds like an intelligent haunting.
That, and my brother has said that he's heard things say his name randomly. Like, so sometimes like when I'm by him, I'll just be like, Kurt. And he's like, shut up, stop doing that. So
You're a jerk.
I don't want to hear ghosts. Like, here's my thing. For me, I've always been sensitive to energies, separate energies in the room. And it's uncomfortable when you know you're by yourself and you feel something walk in and you're like, yep, only one in the house. Like, not a great feeling, but to hear and see, I feel like that's an added layer of discomfort that I don't want. And so when we talk to people that are like, yes, I see spirits or I hear spirits, I'm like, nope, I'm good.
My sister and I had a weird experience 2022. So our cousin passed away after a very long, difficult battle with cancer. And we actually weren't here for it. We were in Houston. And so that day when we found out, we had been calling our mom just basically every other hour just to check in, just to see how everyone was, just because we were very upset. And so we got back to our hotel. We called her for probably the third or fourth time that day. And by that point, she and my dad were at home. And we're just talking. She was telling us about, the last few moments about how his daughter had said a prayer. And as she's talking, all of a sudden this male voice comes through my cell phone because we had it on speakerphone. And the voice just said, here. And my sister and I just looked up at each other. I'll never forget this. We looked up at each other and we go, who was that? And my mom's like, who? And we said, did Daddy just say something? No. Is the TV on? No. It honestly sounded like our uncle. So we were like, is Uncle Ron there? No. And so we told her and she said, well, Pop, her dad, sounded a lot like Uncle Ron. And so we really think it may have been our grandfather coming through to say he's here. And to this day, we have no explanation for it. We can't figure it out, but it gives us a lot of comfort if it was. And let me tell you, my grandfather was the biggest nerd. So if someone is going to figure out how to haunt an iPhone, it's going to be Jack Jones.
I love how to haunt an iPhone.
I mean, I've had iPhones. We've all had iPhones for years. I remember back in the day, back when we had landlines, sometimes they would intercept, like a party line or something. But I've never had something like that happen on an iPhone.
Yeah, I mean, anything we've heard, or for me, anything I've heard has either been experienced during like sleep paralysis, or if like we've recorded something. Like John jokes, that the first season we were recording, I'm the one editing. I've got my headphones up loud because I hear something small, like so I turn it up way loud. Only to have it so loud. And you know how when you're trying to hear something, you turn it up and you push your headphones into your ears. So I do that, and all of a sudden I hear it loud and clearly, and I'm like, oh, and I send it to the guys. And I'm like, of course, me who doesn't want to hear things, I'm experiencing the EVPs and an accidental EVP. And that was actually, it was captured during a recording. We were recording an episode, and I left it in the episode so people can actually hear it if they know where to look for it.
Ooh, I want to find it.
I'll tell you the episode. And
yes, please.
The thing that's a giveaway with it, and I didn't insert it, the thing that's a giveaway is that everybody's sitting away from their mic so you can hear the distance, and you hear like someone put their face up to their mic and said like, yes. And I went back to watch the video because it'll do like a low quality video, even if it's audio only. So I'm watching it. Nobody leaned in during that time. And so I'm like, oh joy. And given the context prior to that, they were saying something like, oh, so-and-so was your ghost. So-and-so was your ghost, right? And that's when we heard the yes in the in the mic.
Oh my God.
We got a second one while we were recording with the lady who owns the haunted Airbnb. And she wasn't even at the Airbnb when she was recording. She was at her home. And same thing happened where I'm like, she's talking and I hear something and I'm like, what in the world am I hearing? So I boost it up and she says something, she's referencing something about a portal in the haunted Airbnb. And you hear a man's voice and it sounds more like an elderly man say, it's here. And I'm just like, oh. What's here? And I sent it to her. I didn't tell her what it said. I just said, what do you hear? Because I'm thinking maybe I'm hearing things. And I boosted the audio just so she could hear it, but I did nothing else. She listens to it, and the response back I get from her is, what's here?
Oh my God.
Again, left it in. But I don't think people realize when they listen to the episodes, like I have left these, what I believe to be EVPs in.
That is so cool. I'm jealous. I've never captured an EVP.
One question. So when you guys were doing that episode at the Airbnb, was it like this where the mics were kind of like in front of you?
Which one?
The
you
Airbnb?
mean when we were talking to her?
Yeah.
So the mics, she wasn't wearing, I don't believe she had a mic and she wasn't wearing headphones. And there was nobody home. I believe it was just her, right, John?
I think she said her husband wasn't there. That's right.
Because she said she kicked him out.
She sent him away.
Yeah, she made him leave. There was, and I feel like we would have heard it when it was happening.
Yes.
Again, we have like video references, but it's just not always the highest quality. But it was definitely an older man's voice saying, it's here.
That's super cool. It gives me an idea. Like, I don't know if you guys have tried this before on different haunts or, tours, but like wearing like a lav mic and then just walking around and everybody being able to record that way. Because I feel like
that would be cool.
Yeah, because I feel like, if you do get something up close and personal, like it's gonna capture it, right?
Right. Well, and like I said before, like when we did the tour or when we ghost hunted Waverly Hills, I had my recorder on while we set up everything and got so many EVPs that way, just by setting up and not even trying to ghost hunt or investigate at that time. It was just setting up equipment, and you can hear them in the background. They're like, hey, we're here. All kinds of different stuff. It was crazy.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
Yeah, it's interesting to see what reacts when you're not directly trying to talk to something. So when we were at the haunted Airbnb, John and I had our cameras rolling the entire time. I was streaming to Facebook and he was streaming to Instagram. And we're just talking. And the things that would happen, for example, because I have an awful sense of humor, the haunted Airbnb used to be a speakeasy and a brothel. And so I was joking that, we're going to have street workers haunting the house and like, be careful when you go to sleep. And I made a joke that because she said there's a very mean ghost that haunts one of the rooms. And what did she say? It's Bethany's room or something, but like it's nobody goes in there because there's a very mean ghost that haunts it that doesn't like anybody in there. And I made a joke that maybe it's a sex demon. And what was hilarious when I said that is our meter just went all the way red. Like it hadn't been going off. We didn't have our phones nearby, and it just went bloop. And so I started testing.
She's a sex demon, as I read.
Yeah, and I started testing it, just like continuing to push that. And every time I would say sex demon or reference the sex demon, it would go bright red. And I'm like, oh, okay. Either you're mad I'm calling you that, or I got it right. I don't know.
Right, because then we stopped calling it a sex demon, and what did we call it? What did we call it? It was something else, but it wasn't demon. We took the demon out of it.
I don't know. I just remember like it would go bright, like it would go all the way to red, and I'm like, oh, interesting. Now we did capture an EVP. We didn't know because I'm lazy and I'm never going to go back and watch recordings that I've recorded. I mean, it's true. I won't. Like that. I'm not a good.
Thank God for her for checking. Yeah, for sure.
I'm not a good paranormal investigator, but I did. A few days later, I woke up to messages from the owner, and she had watched all of our streams. And she's like, hey, did you notice this? And sends me a section of a video where we have this Boo Bear that basically just asks random questions. And in one of the videos, there's a response. And like it said something like, it was like, what's 1 + 3 or something? And it's like 4, or I don't remember. It does math. And
it was actually right.
And the one she sent it from, the camera she sent it from was from mine. So I can hear me talking in the angle
you were
of it.
Across. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm thinking, because I'm always going to be skeptical first. I was like, did she insert it in there, or did John say that? And so I went to his stream on Instagram, and I went to find the part, and it's going through that section. And sure enough, I hear the response, but now it sounds like it's from the other side of the room. So it's not John, and it's not like, it couldn't be us. And so because it was a male.
We were making fun of it.
Yeah, it was.
We were making fun of it beforehand, but like, and I was literally sitting next to it, like 2 feet away.
Yeah, it was like, oh, well, one, she didn't insert it because that's I forwarded to the directly in the live stream, and 2, it wasn't coming from John.
Nope.
I was like, oh look, we have a ghost that can math.
Let me tell you, if I was enjoying my eternal afterlife, that would be the last thing I would do. No math.
Nope, no math.
But that is so cool. I've seen those Boo Bears. Those are fascinating. I had a friend say he was going to get me one as a joke, and I was like, please. And I think he was thinking I wouldn't want it. I don't know why.
If it's the talking Boo Bear, that's like a $400 joke.
That's not going to happen.
Expensive. Yeah,
but they're annoying. I'm not going to lie. Like it's a little kid's voice, and it's just rattling questions. What's your favorite color? What's 3+1? What day is it? And it's going and going and going, and it's so consistent.
My tummy's hot.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing. It will tell you if the temperature changes in the room. So it'll tell you it's getting cold. Yeah. And so it'll be
so cool.
like bursting out all these questions, and then suddenly you hear, my tummy's getting hot. And it's like, wait, what? What did that thing say?
Yeah.
The hard part with it saying that its stomach was getting hot for me, because we're in an older house and it has a basement and it's getting later, I'm just thinking the heat's rising from the basement. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, yeah, your tummy's getting hot, Betty. You're sitting on the floor and it's getting warmer up here.
Yeah, he almost went flying because he was so annoying after a while. We're like, cut him off. We're done. Like, good.
I think I have a problem when I go to haunted places. Like, in the past few years, I went to the Old Washoe Club in in Virginia City this past year.
I'm
and then
jealous.
My sister and I, back before the pandemic, we went to the Haunted Museum in Las Vegas.
I want to go.
Yes.
Oh, it's so cool.
We are planning that.
It's so cool.
It's going to be our trip.
The problem, I think, is when I go places like that, I think my energy gets very eager. And I feel like that's almost a ghost repellent. They're like, oh, this girl's weird. Let's not go near her. Because whenever I actively go to like these haunted places, I get nothing. Like the Old Washoe Club, that's supposed to be the most.
To see it. Like,
yeah, this is supposed to be the most haunted building in Virginia City. Nothing. And I was just like, okay, ghost, where are you? Come on. And I think they were just like, strictly. So anything that does happen to me, it's always when I'm not expecting it or when I'm not looking for it.
I think you're so eager that your energy vibration is just so high that you might be inadvertently protecting yourself and blocking it all out. Whereas when you're in your own world writing the paranormal stories, which is making you open, right? You're open to the creative spot inside of yourself. So that vibration's a little bit more open, a little more different. That might be why it's coming through when you're not aware, because your shields are down. But when your shields are up because your energy is vibrating so high, the ghosts are like, we're here, but we can't get through.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
That's what you need to do. You need to write your next book in only haunted places. Like, I think that would I don't know, who knows what you might get. You know, they may be like, no, you need to change this. Like,
right.
They're like tapping your shoulder. You misspelled
my ghostly
that.
Editors.
Your ghostly editors.
Or they're like, I know this is fiction, but this isn't real. Like, maybe they'll try to correct you on something. You're like, but it's my story.
They're like, that's not what we really do.
That would be awesome. I would love a ghost to like just come over my shoulder and be like, you got that wrong. We don't do that. That's a stereotype.
I actually did see something in what I read from your book that one of the references was saying that like ghosts they may not have memories because it's maybe because they were shocked from when they died. And I thought that was super interesting. Like if that is a real situation, or like if they just, or if it depends. Right. And I think that's like, you leave that open, right? Like it's both. It could.
I think a lot of what I put into books, I have learned by watching a boatload of ghost hunting shows on either Travel Channel or YouTube. So if I heard, someone say something like, the shock of this death may have made it so they lost who they were, or they are lost in the moment, they don't remember where they are, I probably parroted that from a ghost hunting show that I saw. I think the only lore that I made up myself was a friend of mine was actually just messaging me about this because she was reading one of my new short stories. And she goes, I don't think I've ever read a book or heard a ghost story where the ghosts couldn't see each other. And I said, yeah, I don't think I've heard that either. I don't think that's how ghosts actually work. That's just something that I threw into my fictional world because it works better for me for the stories that I'm telling.
If they can't see each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it could be fun. It could be, that's a fun way to to use the living to like, because then it's Michael, right? I'm sure he has a lot of fun, like or at least maybe he's annoyed, or maybe it's like, it's like this ghost is doing one thing while this is doing another thing, and it's like get overwhelmed with that.
It's funny you bring that up because we had a guest who said that she was doing a mediumship session, and two spirits appeared, and they were actually fighting with each other to get through, and she had to like turn around and tell them, you need to stop. Like, I can only focus on like one thing, like stop fighting. And I'm like, in all the interactions we've heard of and seen, I've never heard that, two ghosts fighting.
I've actually heard it.
Well, and I've seen on like ghost hunting shows where they have captured EVPs, I think, of spirits talking back and forth and interacting with each other. So I do believe in our spiritual world, I do believe that spirits can interact with each other. It's just when you go into my fictional spiritual world, I'm like, no, you can't. No, you have to follow my rules now.
Could you imagine like a married couple that end up staying past, life, and they just perpetually bicker and fight? Like, how
that
miserable.
Would be so funny.
I mean, Beetlejuice, right? But I mean, they got along. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, I think I actually, I know I've heard a couple arguing before. It was this woman that I was dating way back when, and her house was haunted. They were in her bathroom for some reason. I don't know why, but they were in her bathroom. And we're sitting in the living room, me, her kids, my daughter, and I can hear stuff in the back. I'm like, is that your neighbor? She's like, we're not that connected. Like, the houses aren't connected. They're not that close. And it's wintertime. The windows aren't open. There's no windows in the bathroom. I was like, yeah, you're right. So I'm listening more, and I could tell it's a male and female. And then all of a sudden, the toilet seat slams. I was like, and I just look at her and I point, and she's like, yeah, it happens a lot. And I was like, okay, cool. We're good. Making sure I'm not going crazy. Just, okay, we're good.
Fighting in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't always the bathroom.
Yeah, exactly. That could be. Like I said, they were there, and maybe it wasn't the bathroom, and maybe it was something else. Maybe it was a different room. But yeah, it was trippy to hear for the first time.
As long as they're not like yelling at you, right? Like,
Yeah, don't geek up on me. Don't.
Yeah.
Like, I'll just sit back with my popcorn and just hang out.
Right, and I'll just listen to the wah, 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 wah of the Charlie Brown noise that I can hear, and yeah, that's all it was. But yeah, it was trippy.
Now, Jackie, I do have one question.
Mm-hmm.
If there was an EVP that you heard, is there something that you would want to hear, or is there something that you would be afraid to hear? Because it sounds like you want it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think what I heard from who we believe to be my grandfather, I think that was the best thing I could have heard, and that's just he's here, because that means my whole fascination with the paranormal goes back to, I really want and need to know that there's more than this. I need to know that my loved ones who have gone on, like my first loss ever was, I was 6 and my grandmother died, and we live with her. And, basically ever since that, I've kind of been searching for affirmations that she's okay, that she's still here. And I do get signs whenever I ask for them, which is really cool. And they may not be the signs that I expected. But so I think just hearing he's here, especially after, when my cousin passed away, that was a terrible loss for our whole family. It was horrible. It was a horrible illness and just absolutely devastating. And so just hearing he's here, I think that, I'll never, never forget the way that my sister and I looked at each other. And then, what am I scared to? I think I'm more scared of anything that there's nothing. So I wouldn't hear that. If a ghost came up to me and said, no, there's nothing after this, then I'd be like, well, you're lying because you're here.
No, there's nothing after this. This is where it is.
Yeah. So honestly, the idea of ghosts, and I've had a lot of conversations with my little cousins about this, my cousins' daughters. And one of them always says, no, it doesn't give me comfort to think that ghosts are there, that there's something after this. But the other one says, yes, it does give me a lot of comfort. And I'm with her. I feel like I don't get as scared of the idea of ghosts because it gives me that hope. And that's honestly why I wrote the Cemetery Tour series in the first place. It was to comfort me, but it was also just because I want to share that hope that life is not the end. This is not all there is. And that's what I truly believe, and what I will always... I think I wrote something in the fourth book that was like, even if I didn't believe in ghosts or in spirits or an afterlife, I would always be looking for a reason to believe in it.
I want to believe.
Mm-hmm.
I love that being a YA author, you're normalizing these experiences, because
Thank you.
It's not a normalized topic. And it oftentimes, if it is introduced, it's in a very big state of fear. And I think we see that with the protagonist, right? Like, he's afraid at first, but learning to embrace that, yes, I see that. Yes, I experience that. And work with it and truly embrace it as a part of you. I think that is powerful. I love that. I love that you're putting that into your books and you're normalizing that topic, especially for the younger age, because that will carry forward as they go into adulthood.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I honestly didn't originally write it for the young adult crowd. Again, I wrote it for me. However, I guess I was 23 when I started writing it. But then I applied for a teen book fest with my new young adult rom-com, which has no ghost in it at all. And they wrote back to me saying, actually, we want cemetery tours. And I was like, oh, okay. So that's when I started thinking, okay, maybe cemetery tours is good actually for a younger crowd as well.
It is. It translates, because when I was reading it, I don't see it as YA. Like, I think it's relatable to, you can give it to a 13-year-old or you can give it to a 38-year-old. I'm aging myself. And we're
right behind you.
And we're going to take from it what speaks to us. It very much does encompass a very wide demographic. And I love it. I love that it's relatable to all the different ages.
Well, and death, unfortunately, especially as we've learned since 2020, is an experience that is something that everyone experiences at least once in their lives, that love and that loss. It's not a unique experience to anyone. So I think that's why a lot of people can find that they relate to it at least in one way. They're going to be thinking of at least one person or even one animal. I mean, I've met a couple of people who profess to be mediums. I have only believed one, though, and she looked at me and said, "You have a cat at your ankles." And I was like, okay, I have always said that when I meet a medium, the only thing I want to hear is that your cats are still with you. Because I love my cats more than anything on this planet. And she described my cat, Jasmine, just perfectly. And then she even told me, Jasmine does not like your cat that you have now. She didn't. She did not. But she also told me that my cat that I had at that time, that she was waiting for me to finish my next big project, and then she was going to move on because she was older. She had kidney disease. And that happened. I finished my book, in less than 3 months later, she was gone. And I knew, I believed her. I knew it was going to happen. I knew she was holding on for me. And so just hearing that, and also Jazzy, who was the one around my ankles, she jumps onto my bed still all the time. I'll feel her jump up. I'll look up thinking it's Nova. Nova's nowhere around, but there is definitely a cat walking on my bed. And so that's my real comfort. That's
really cool. And I read that in your book about how the dog is still in the house and everything. And they're like, that's a super awesome comfort thing. And I love that about, because it is, like you guys said, it's relatable, and all the characters are different ages too. It's not just, a specific one, right? Like, Brink and then all the grandparents, and, it's cool.
Yeah. When I was in 7th grade, I went to a very small Christian high school, and in middle school and high school. It was 6 grades. And I, of course, took religion classes because you had to. And one of my religion teachers said, "Oh, no, animals don't have souls." That was the first time in my life I had ever been told that. Because, I was raised in an Episcopalian household. Of course we believe animals have souls. Why wouldn't you? They're purer than we are. And I went home and just cried. I cried my eyes out. And that's kind of why I always throw in the animals or mention, yes, animals have souls. Yes, I am haunted by all my cats. That's it.
You're like, take that.
Yeah. If heaven doesn't have cats, I want to go where they are. I don't want to be here. Send me to where my cats are. Everyone listening to this is going to think I'm insane.
No, not at all. If they don't if they're still listening to this podcast after all the things we've talked about, you're in good company. Don't worry about it.
Good.
The only time I have experienced the presence of what I feel are animal spirits has been very limited. And I think it was probably 2015 or 16. And I had gone to a friend's apartment because they wanted me to they wanted me to see their new space. So I show up, they come to open the door. And as they open the door, when you have the automatic reaction, like to reach down and pet something.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
So I felt the automatic urge to reach down and pet the dog that ran to the door, except there is no dog. They don't have a pet. And I'm like, but I felt that the animal run to the door like an excited, happy dog. And I was just like, I reached down to pet it and I'm like, hold on. You don't have a dog. And when we were going through the apartment and going through all the things they set up, as I was walking room to room and looking at everything, I felt like there was a dog wagging its tail, just like going room to room, trotting next to us. And I had to keep fighting the urge to reach down and pet it. And that was unsettling to me, not because I was scared, but because that's the first time I'd experienced something like that.
Oh, that is so cool, though.
And I was like, I love your ghost dog. It's very happy. I can feel its happy, like wiggly butt energy, but I don't know.
Oh.
That was the first time I've experienced a sensation like that where I felt there is an animal spirit presence.
That's awesome.
That is so cool.
So happy ghost dog and its wiggly butt. What about you, John Thomas or BJ? Have you guys ever experienced any like animal spirit presences?
I don't think so. Not yet.
No, I don't think. I know when I went to Jerome, and the hotel has the spirit of a cat as well that jumps up on people's beds, but never got to experience that part. Saw all kinds of other weird stuff, but that was about it. There are times still, my dog's still alive, obviously, because we saw her earlier. But when I'm sleeping, I'll like reach out to pet her thinking that she's right there, and then she's not there. She's elsewhere. And I'm like, that's weird. Okay, cool. We're just gonna whatever. So I don't know if there's another dog here or something, but yeah.
Do you feel her there and then you realize she's not?
Yes.
Oh.
That's the weird thing is like I totally feel like she's right there, and I don't even open my eyes, and I just reach and I try to pet, and I'm like, air. I'm like, what the heck? So yeah, it's weird.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's trippy.
I have seen an animal that I'm still not sure what that was, but again, I don't know if it was a spirit or an animal presence form of something else. Animal form of something else present. I'm tripping over my words. What are words? I just remember I was driving home one night and it was late, so there were no other cars on the road, and I turned left. And as I was turning, my headlights hit this animal on the side of the road. Not like hit it, but it shone on it. And I made eye contact. And I was just like, it felt like slow motion because I'm eye contact looking like, what in the world? Because it looked like a big, great white wolf. That doesn't exist here. That's not a thing here. And in a populated, it wasn't like we live out in the boonies. Like it was a very populated residential area. And in that moment of just slow looking into their eyes and them looking at me and turn. And I questioned myself so much that I actually turned around to see, like, is that really, like, what is that? And I turned around, parked, or like, slowed to a stop, looked back. There was nothing there. It should have still been there, but it wasn't. And I'm like, what did I just see? What was that?
That is so cool.
Yeah, and it was huge. It wasn't like I saw someone's dog. It wasn't like a husky. Like this thing was almost the size of like a bear.
Dire wolf.
And so I'm just like, that's not a dog. But I don't like, because sometimes people's dogs get out of, maybe it's a Siberian husky or something. But no, this thing was too big, too massive, and it did have the face of like a wolf. And like, again, that's not a thing here in Colorado. We don't get huge great white wolves like that. So I was like, what? What was that?
That sounds amazing. You do have wolves now, though. I think they released 10 into the wild, which is very exciting.
Yeah, we have the big wolf sanctuary. And I at first thought, did something escape and make its way over? But I don't think we have. Like, I've been there, and the wolves aren't that big.
Yeah, no, I've been there too. Isha, the Arctic wolf, and he's very timid. He doesn't like people unless you give good butt scratches.
He's not going to square off and just stare at you.
No.
And in that moment, it didn't feel real. It felt like for a moment in time, I was like in almost an ethereal space, if that makes sense.
That's amazing.
So I'm like, I don't know how to describe this, because it felt like as I was turning and I had eye contact with it, it almost felt like I was floating in that moment. And then once I broke eye contact, it was like, what did I just see? And I look like I got to turn around. Like, what? So I don't know.
It's one of those things where you're like, should I pull over? What is this?
Do I call animal control? I don't know. Like, I don't know what to do. I don't know. It was interesting.
That is so cool.
Yeah, we have. And I don't know why I haven't thought of that in years, until we started talking about animal spirits. Although that night, because that happened, I went home and I'm a Googler. So I was like, let's ask the Google what that could mean, like the symbolism. And one thing that did come up, that if you see something like a great white wolf in a situation like that where you're not at the zoo or something, oftentimes it's a sign that there's a big change coming. There's a great change coming. So I'm like, maybe that's it. I don't know. Okay, so book 5.
Yes.
Is it in the works?
It is.
Yay!
Yep. It's going to be called Heaven Knows. And, oh gosh, I'm trying to think of how I can describe it without giving too many spoilers, like for book 4 away. But basically, the plot has been evolving. And, one of the reasons why I think Lost Souls, the 4th book, it's been out since pre-pandemic. So, but then with all the death with COVID and then with all the death with my family happening, I was not in the right headspace to write a book about death. And, like I said, at first it gave me comfort, but this time after 2020 and 2022, it just got too close. And so I'm finally writing it again. I had been writing it, but then the plot has changed and evolved. Like I said, when I said I don't have first drafts or whatever, I'm like, I'm definitely on, I think, draft 3 right now, because it's constantly changing and evolving. But it's actually going to be set in a fictional town in North Carolina that I made up for another book. And so that's something that I'm very guilty of. I will take places that I have already created and put them in different books because I'm lazy and I don't want to come up with new places.
I don't think that's lazy. I think that's efficient.
Thank you. We're going to go with that. I think Stephen King does it too, like with Castle Rock and Derry. Are those real places? Those might be real places.
They are, but he still uses them like a
Yeah.
lot in different
Okay, yeah.
stories. So yeah.
Sorry, I've never been to Maine.
Just okay. I love Stephen King. Now,
Oh, I do
speaking of,
too.
do you have inspirations that help kind of drive your books, or do you just go with your inner you?
So again, I watch a lot of ghost hunting shows that those serve as my inspiration. My favorite author of all time is Meg Cabot, and she actually wrote a paranormal. She's most famous for her Princess Diaries series. Obviously, it became made into a movie, but she also wrote a ghost series called The Mediator. It's about a girl, Suzanne, and she is the one who can see and talk to the dead, and she actually falls in love with a ghost named Jessie. And oh my gosh, my sister and I were reading these books in high school and going, Jessie's so dreamy. Oh my gosh, I want a ghost boyfriend. But I love Meg Cabot. I love Meg Cabot because she writes ghosts, she writes vampires, she wrote a Hades and Persephone story, she writes the Princess Diaries. And so she is definitely who I want to be.
I don't know. I want you to be you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll be me, but I would love, I'm trying to like emulate her. I'm trying to channel her when I write. It's like, okay, I can write ghosts, or I can write books about ghosts and about boy bands.
Yes, you can. Absolutely.
So she's one of my big inspirations. And then one of my best friends, her name is Miracle Austin. She's actually, she's like the queen of indie horror. I love her so much. And it's funny because she writes really, really spooky, creepy books. But if you meet her in real life, she's like the human embodiment of glitter. She is so sweet, so beautiful, so colorful, just like the sweetest person alive. And but she writes creepy. Like I read her newest short story collection is called Fright Bites. And I read it and I was texting her going, Miracle, what is wrong with you? What's going on in your head? This is terrifying.
We've talked about this before. I firmly believe horror fans and horror writers and horror creators, that horror is so cathartic that's why the horror artist and writer and filmmaker, they tend to be very like happy-go-lucky, like sweet people because they got it all out.
Well, the funniest thing about Miracle, though, is that, you know, she'll write these stories and she will not go to any haunted place with me. She will not go ghost hunting. We're going to Corpus Christi in February for a teen book fest, and it is right next to, I think, the USS Lexington, which you can tour. It's haunted. And every year I'm like, okay, Miracle, are we going to go? And every year she goes, no.
I'd probably be the same way.
Well, I have my high energy shield.
I'm like, I'll watch the pretend, but I don't want it real. I know, right? You're the high energy shield.
Yeah, so no one's going to talk to us. It's fine. I won't experience a thing.
I don't know because you're the high energy shield and I'm the ghost magnet. So
oh, I'm jealous. Okay, we're going to get together. But I hope I don't block you.
we'll see what happens. Because when we were at the haunted Airbnb, there was like a full ghost party that night. Doors were slamming. There were footsteps back and forth across the porch. Like it was a full happening party.
Oh, see, footsteps would freak me out. If I heard footsteps, oh my gosh, I
thought it was a real person. There had been a celebration that day going on in that town up the street. And so I thought someone drunk stumbled onto the porch. So I actually opened the blinds like to look, and I could hear the footsteps cross. Nobody was there. I heard him come back. Nobody was there. And I was like, I'm laying back down. And then that's when the doors started slamming.
No.
Now, the funny thing is she checked her cameras because she has cameras in the basement and I guess other areas. And she could hear footsteps going up the stairs from the basement up. And so she did capture some of that because I'm like, they were asleep. I was the only one that was experiencing and hearing this because it started popping off, I think, at like 2:30, 3 a.m. And
that's the witching hour.
Yep. And so I was like, okay, here we go. And it's from like, I want to say 3 a.m. until about 3:40, it was popping. And
wow.
I was in the morning, I told her about it. And I'm thinking, there's nothing I can do to prove that that's what I heard. I didn't know she had the audio on her camera. And so she went to check it. She's like, I can hear footsteps going up.
Oh my God.
I was like, oh, good. I'm not crazy. Wait. Oh no.
Oh no, I'm not crazy.
Oh no. Ghost party.
There is a spot in Texas here that I do refuse to go. It's Goatman's Bridge in Denton. It's actually really close to where I live. And my cousin keeps saying that she wants to go there and wants to yell and provoke the demon. And I'm just like,
No.
absolutely not. No, that's it. Not going with you. And so if I do go, it's going to have to be during the day. I'm going to have to be wearing a crucifix, grab some holy water from the local cathedral. We're going to do all that because I don't mess with things that are said to be demonic.
Nope.
I like ghosts. I don't do demons.
I don't want to play with. So it's interesting. That is the third time this season that Goatman's Bridge has been brought up by like different guests.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Different people have brought it up. And now I'm like, okay, third time, I'm listening. Somewhere we have to go, I guess.
Okay, well, if y'all go, then I will go with you and observe from a safe distance.
Well, I'm not going to, first of all, I'm not going to antagonize anything into revealing itself.
Absolutely
I may
not.
go to the
No.
area and poke around, but I'm not going to make anything angry at me.
No.
That
not
is
at all.
crazy, though. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It might be a sign.
I think it
might be.
is. When it's the third time, that's a sign. There was an LDS friend of mine, of all backgrounds, this is the one, but like there was an LDS friend of mine a long time ago that told me, if you hear something 3 times, that is a message you're supposed to be receiving and you need to pay attention to it. And so now when I just heard it, I'm like, ding, that's number 3.
That is so cool and so creepy and amazing. I love it.
I've had 3 different unrelated people, so
That is wild.
And if you think about it, like the museum in Vegas also got brought up 3 different times by 3 different people.
yes,
so,
it did. Trust me, I know. I was trying not to acknowledge that, but yes, you are correct.
Sorry. Yeah.
We're gonna go.
Uh-huh.
Well, this has been awesome, and I'm not gonna take up like your entire evening. I could talk to you all day, and I do hope that I get to see you at a convention so we can just sit down and geek out like at a dinner about all the ghostly
Yes,
spooky
please.
things. So you've got your Cemetery Tours book series. You've also got your anthology series, and one just came out, right? Was it secondhand?
Yes.
Which
it
I
was
have.
secondhand. Yes.
Yes, I have that as well. I have all. I think I have all of your paranormal books.
Thank you. Thank you. You're the best.
No, you're the best. Your writing is so well done that it's easy to read. You know,
Thank
that
you.
it flows so well. So I encourage all of our listeners and anybody interested in just some fun, spooky stories to pick up her books. Where can they find your books?
You can actually find all of my books on Amazon, on Kindle, Cemetery Tours, the 2 anthologies or the 2 collections, and Trashy Suspense Novel, which is the cryptid suspense novel. They are all available on Kindle Unlimited. And I am currently getting the books up on Etsy as well, so you can order signed copies.
Amazing. I know that
Thank
was
you.
one of my questions when you announced your second anthology book, or the spooky anthologies were coming out. I'm just like, how can I get a signed copy? What can I do? So I love that. That's going to be an option.
That's going to be my project for the cold weekend that we have ahead. Texans do not leave their houses when it is below freezing. And so I'll be in with my cat and all my blankets, and we're going to be updating the Etsy store.
Wonderful. And what is your Etsy store? Is it also under Jacqueline Smith?
It's actually not. It's called Books, Beads, and Boy Bands. Because we're going to be selling beads as well as my sister and I are big BTS fans. I cannot talk or breathe without mentioning BTS at least once. And she's going to be putting together some like little like care packages that you can also buy. But right now, the only thing that we have is the signed books, but we're going to be getting the beads up very soon as well.
Well, Jackie, I've loved having you on. I appreciate that you were able to come and spend this time with us. I hope we can get you on again. And yeah, thank you for coming.
Ashley, I appreciate you so much. You are such a bright paranormal ray of sunshine.
So are
I loved
you.
meeting you in Abilene. And yes, I would love to come back anytime. And definitely whenever you come to Dallas or I go to Colorado, we're going ghost hunting.
Please do. I'm going to send you my phone number. And I want to, I'm coming to Colorado. We are going to do it. All right, John Thomas, do you want to bring us home?
I sure do. Thank you again, Jackie, for coming on. I'm actually going to order your books. I need to do that. I'm slacking, but Ashley has told me lots of wonderful things about them, and just hearing about them through the podcast, I'm excited and I can't wait.
Thank you so much.
I definitely don't read enough. You're very welcome. I don't read enough, and I need to. So there's definitely that. And thank you to all of our listeners for listening to this episode of 3Haunted Podcast with your host. I'm John Thomas.
I am Ashley Lunar Goddess.
And I'm BJ Segura.
And if you have any questions, comments, episode suggestions, feel free to email us at 3hauntedpodcast@gmail.com. And if you haven't done so already, please like, follow, and subscribe to all of our social media. You don't want to miss amazing guests like Miss Jackie Smith here.
Until next time.
Dead of Winter Horror Network and It Came from the 508 Productions invite you to endure the most terrifying immersive experience in all of podcasting. Beneath the Red Umbrella, now available wherever you listen to podcasts. Beneath the Red Umbrella, when the snow falls.